Yes, I'm Cathy Cresswell. I'm a professor of developmental clinical psychology at the University of Oxford, and I lead the Emerging Minds Network.
Hi, I'm Yasmeen. I am a parent advisory member of the Emerging Minds team. For some of my children, I can give a lived experience view. At the beginning of lockdown was they felt quite good. It was like that everybody was in the same boat as them almost. So they quite liked being at home a lot, quite liked not having the stress of going to school and things like that. But then as COVID progressed, there's quite a lot of bumps that came along the way. So I had one child that wasn't accessing education due to the mental health, and their physical, mental well-being went downhill because of lack of access to services. So the services were involved, but because they weren't able to do face-to-face visits, were able to come out and see her and things like that. That those relationships broke down, and she didn't want to engage, so she just plummeted. So I had to call emergency services a few times for support. So it's been quite difficult. And then my 14-year-old, they was doing okay, but then they started to plummet as well, especially going back to school. So it went up a bit, then it went right back down. It's come back up a little bit, but it's going downhill again. So the pandemic has had a major effect on youth mental health, definitely.
Yeah, well, I think this is sort of helping our understanding with how the pandemic has affected young people has been something that we've been able to contribute to through Emerging Minds. So very early on in the pandemic, we started the co-space study, and that was something we were able to do very quickly because of the network that we had with Emerging Minds. So we were able to speak to parents like Yasmeen very, very early on in the pandemic to make sure that we were asking the right questions to families to really get a good understanding of their experience. And we were able to then disseminate the survey through our wide range of partners in the voluntary and community sector and other organisations to try and really get a really diverse sample of people taking part. So that's now been running since March last year. So we have over a year of monthly data on children and young people's mental health. And alongside the survey, we've been conducting qualitative interviews with families and also people who work with families to get a better understanding of what's been happening. And I think our findings very much mirror what Yasmeen said, in that it's been a bumpy ride with things going up and down at different points in time. And I think what we've also seen very clearly from our data is how people have had such very different experiences, depending on their circumstances, the context they're living in, the opportunities that they've had.
I was doing a undergrad in psychology and sociology, and I was on a lot of social media platforms like Twitter, and I saw an advertisement via some people I knew from the University of Birmingham had retweeted it. So, and it was an opportunity for parents and young people to be engaged with mental health research, and I thought this is an ideal opportunity for myself to get involved and also encourage my oldest daughter, who is, like I said, she's not in any education or training at the moment. She's just at home stuck with her anxiety. So I was like, okay, this might be a really good opportunity to get her out of her shell a bit if she's interested.
Yeah, well, I think it's absolutely critical to make sure that we're doing the research, in ways that are ultimately going to benefit people, but also that we're doing it in ways that people feel able to engage with and take part with. And so, across Emerging Minds, our our young people and parent carer advisors are really critical and are involved, at every step of the way in terms of making decisions. They have a very sort of central voice on all of our decision making, including reviewing our grant applications and other sort of funding calls, as well as sort of making decisions about the different directions that we're going in. And I think that we've really benefited from that, and I'm sure it's definitely taken us in some different directions, and I think those have been really positive.
I think it really has helped empower my oldest child as well to take on further things, because she's um, taken up some other opportunities after that, um, to engage in other research as well. And she doesn't really talk to me much about it because she's very closed about a lot of things, and she doesn't speak much to family members, which is an ongoing difficulty. But she's able to engage with other people, I think, and being part of the Emerging Mind Network kick-started that helped her be able to be independent. She doesn't need to ask me for anything. She can email who she likes. She can arrange meetings with who she likes. She's over 18 now. She could, it's good to see that even though she's at home, that she's still able to have some sort of functionality, it is empowering.
So from the CoSpace study, we've obviously been collecting information on how children and young people's mental health has changed throughout the pandemic. And so we've been producing really regular reports that we make accessible on our website, but also send out directly to over, over 170 policymakers, health, education, practitioner organisations, as well as our wider Emerging Minds network. And those have been picked up and used really widely. So Public Health England have used them a lot. They've been in a really large number of media articles and appearances, cited a number of times in Parliament, featured very heavily in the Department for Education State of the Nation report 2020, and that's been very positive. But we've also tried to respond very directly ourselves to the needs as we've identified them. So it was very clear very early on that there were a number of different stressors that parents were facing during the first lockdown. So because the Emerging Minds, because we have this fantastic network of people who bring a really diverse range of experiences, we very quickly put on a webinar series that was aimed at parents, carers, and anyone that works with families. And with the mental health, we ran 9 webinars focused on the sorts of challenges that we were hearing from families that they were struggling with: screen time, teen sleep, play, managing fears and worries. And we produced a resource specifically on fears and worries related to the pandemic, which was translated into 17 languages, really just from people in the network coming forwards and volunteering to do the translation, which was wonderful.
The webinars that they put on, they were very helpful, extremely helpful. So not only was it helpful to myself who've got children with mental health issues, I was able to sort of like talk to family members and people that I know and pass on the information in a helpful way, because there was a lot of guilt and shame around children spending an awful lot of time in front of screens, and the things that they were talking about in there just gave that bit of reassurance that it's okay. We don't have to get into big contentions with our children. It's all about working with each other rather than against each other, and it's not as bad as it seems. And we are in a pandemic, so it's giving those little bit breaks to parents to reduce their anxiety about their parenting, so they're less on edge as well. So they were really, really, really helpful. Even those small little snippets of helpful, useful advice makes a big impact.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways in which having the existing network and the structures that go around the networks really facilitates us and able to respond quickly during over the last year. And one is obviously being able to have that close contact with families and young people right from the start, because we had that established group. Also having an extensive network of health, education, voluntary and community sector organisations that are already kind of linked in and enthusiastic about research, meant that we could be talking to them about their needs early on, but also they were really active in sharing information about the different studies that we've been doing. And also the network directors have a monthly meeting where we all come together and just talk about what we're up to and the different challenges that we might be facing. And that's been a really fantastic resource over the last year for us to come together and talk about the different things that we're getting involved in and how we can support each other, really try and identify the synergies and build on those. And so that's been a really, I think, fantastic and useful way for us to get, turn these networks into more than the sum of their parts.
Well, with regards to youth mental health, is practical applications to helping children, because I'm hearing a lot about early intervention, and it would be great if that was able to be put into place across all spaces where children require them, because my older two children, they suffered quite a bit with psychosis, but then they didn't have access to early intervention psychosis support, which may have helped them greatly. So it's just making sure that is all children have accessibility to services, and not just some who with parents who are in the know or have got the good professionals who refer them on and things like that. These things need to be available for all children and all parents.
I think that the networks have really demonstrated that value of being able to create an infrastructure that's there to support research, to promote priorities, to identify and promote priorities of those who are likely to benefit from the research, to make sure that we're bringing together people from across disciplines and across sectors. And then I think the pandemic has really shown how it leads to the ability to be able to respond quickly and in an agile way to circumstances like this that have been thrown upon us. So I think that it's really highlighted the value of things like the network, and and like you, I very much hope that structures like that will be able to continue going forwards. I think that also we've all supported a lot of early career researchers to start to develop their careers. We've all primed projects that have great potential to make a real difference going forward. So also, it's going to be really important that we have the funding routes for them to continue their journeys through going forward, so that we can see the real benefits that research has the potential to bring.